I thought to share a bit of my experience living in Mexico City that really stuck out to me. I lived in Mexico City for 5 months and I wanted to share my pros and cons of living there. And maybe this would be helpful for you if you are thinking about relocating, trying to live a new place. So, yeah, keep in mind that what I'm sharing is, I guess, things that mean a lot to me and the things that I've noticed. There are so many pros of living in the city that I won't mention, but I'll mention the ones that really, really like stuck out to me after living there for 5 months. The very first one, and the one that just truly made my experience so incredible, is the people. The people there are so loving, they're so welcoming, they're so trusting, and they're so helpful. And with the people comes also the pace of the city. Now, keep in mind, this is a big city, a huge city. It's humongous. And both in area and in people living there. So it's a big city and it's busy. But the pace there still is slower. Slower compared to New York and compared to London or LA. And what I mean by slower is the pace in which people move. Like the pace in which people speak. There isn't this hurry of people needing to be somewhere where they're not, or their mind being elsewhere. I felt like there was so much more presence in everyone I like crossed on the street or had an interaction with throughout the day. And so, I feel like our own pace and energy can quickly be affected by the external environment, right? And so when things are slower and people have time to look into your eyes and say good morning and smile and ask if you need help, I feel like the everyday mundane moments just become so much more fulfilling and rich and meaningful. Everything, there's time for every moment to be a meaningful moment. And that is so valuable in a city, I feel. So yeah, the people, mwah, like in the area where I lived, it was the small moments of going to buy my fruit or seeing the same dogs, right? And their owners every time I went to wherever I was going. These moments really add up, and even without necessarily knowing these people, you feel welcome and you feel a part of it and you feel like there is community. And so you don't necessarily have to go to a friend's house or meet up for coffee to have beautiful human interactions. And I'm not saying this is exclusive to Mexico City, but I very much noticed that the locals there greet you with so much love and openness and trust. And yeah, it just enriches life, really, having human connection and to soak in these moments. We need to be present, and for that, there is no time for rushing. Like, you miss the moment when you're always going from A to B. So, anyway, the pace of the city and the people alone, I thought, was a reason to move to Mexico. Okay, the second one is an obvious one, but gosh, does it make a difference? The weather. So I have not lived there for a whole year. So I didn't live there during the winter months. But I have been to Mexico City in January and February. And yes, it's chilly, but you still have the sun, and it's not like you just put on what I'm wearing now, right? Like you put on a bit more clothes and you still see the sun every day. So the weather there is great. you see the sun pretty much every day. And I must say, I again, going back to the people, they have the sun inside of them. And I'm seeing this pattern of places where there is more sunlight. Culturally, people tend to be more open, and I'm Norwegian myself, so we have very different climate there, and it makes sense, right? Like when you look at nature, when there's no sun and it's darker times, like in the climate, things close down and contract a little bit, and I think we do that as humans as well. So the weather is great. And not only is it warmer, more pleasant and beautiful, but the amount of energy I had living in a sun-rich city compared to, let's say, New York or London is a huge difference. I'll only share my own experience, but I experienced that I get energy from different sources, right? The obvious one being food. But when I live in a sun-rich city, I can really feel the nourishment and the energy source in which the sun is. And so, yeah, it just fuels me to live more life. And who wouldn't want more of that, right? It made a huge difference as to how much energy I had, how inspired I felt, how open I felt, my moods, my immune system. Oh my goodness. You know, being with the sun in the morning massively turns on your immune system. So throughout the year you have the sun, and it's a bit colder in the winter months, but you still have the sunlight. And early summertime can be quite hot, but then again, like, you just rest or stay more inside during the daytime, and then the city is alive at nighttime, and is so pleasant temperature in the evenings during summer. And then also, I didn't know this before I moved, but there is a raining season, I think starting in July. So this year the rain came quite late. But here's the thing. I'm in London now. It rains a lot, and it's also grey. In Mexico, when it rains, you still have a full day almost of sun, beautiful weather, and then the rain comes like in a concentrated time frame. So it will just rain for, let's say, 1 to 3 hours. Rain. It rains a lot, but then it will be nice again. So you still get that daily dose of sun and enjoyment from the weather. So rainy season, not an issue at all. In fact, the city needs it because it can get quite dry when it's always hot and sunny. Okay, so next thing is, this city is so walkable. And when it's not, when the distances are too far, because keep in mind, it's a huge city, they have amazing public transport. And I did not know this before I came there. And I'll use New York and London as examples. They have great subway, tube, and public transport. Yes, Mexico City too, if not better. Like, it's so well connected. And here is the thing. On the tube and on the bus, they have dedicated area for women and children only. So I felt really safe. I used it a lot, and of course, common sense. Like, I wouldn't go late at night by myself, but I used it a lot, and I felt safe, and it was so efficient, and it's so cheap. Like, one tube ride, no, regardless of how far you're going, will cost 5 pesos. And if you don't want to take the tube, there is Uber. And also something called Didi. And it is also very, very affordable. Like, I would never spend more than 100 pesos on a ride, and that's what, 4 pounds, $5. So that's also a good option. But anytime I could, I would walk, because being European, having lived both in New York and London, I just love walking. Like, I feel it's like a meditation for me. Listening to a podcast, catching up with a friend. Like, I just love walking. And you can walk many places in Mexico City. Areas like Roma and Condesa is beautiful building. So there's a lot of beauty to look at as well. The architecture, you have that European flair. and also so much greenery. So it's walkable, amazing public transport, and cheap Ubers. The food. I think many people would mention this, but it is next level. Like both from the street food, which is super, super affordable, to like the high end. Both of those spectrums are just impeccable. I will say I definitely prefer the street food experience just because it's so casual. The people are so lovely. It feels like families sharing their family recipes, and they use it's flavored so incredible. Each salsa is so different but so potent in flavor, and if you love spice, they really get the spice right. So yeah, the food experience in itself is just something to be experienced in your lifetime, honestly. And I don't have many cons actually worth mentioning, because overall my experience was so great, so inspiring, nourishing. There's so many more pros to talk about. Like, it's such a vibrant city, a lot of artists, a lot of art, a lot of culture, so much to mention. But these were the things that really just stuck with me. The cons, I only have two to mention, and that would be the pollution. The pollution is really, really bad. You feel it in your eyes. I didn't want to take a deep breath. Ironic, because I stop myself often to take a deep breath. But no, the air quality isn't great at all. It is a very polluted city. So that's one. The second one is noise. There is a lot of traffic, and there's a lot of cars, and there's a lot of people. So there's just constantly like noise. The city is never quiet. That's just what it is, but still, I would live there again in a heartbeat. I don't know if there's anyone here interested in moving, relocating, that models, because I did model when I was there. And so if anyone has questions about that whole process, and about visas and things I didn't know before I went there, I'm happy to answer questions or do a separate video of that whole experience and how I went about it. For now, I'll leave it with this, and I will see you next time.